was a great week. I had a super aha and some really good sews, and I can't wait to tell you all about that. Hi, it's Myrna. Thanks for joining me in my studio today. This is the Wendy dress. We are saying goodbye, and since parts of it are quite useful, I am keeping them. I've decided that the top part has been reinvented enough times and it can move along. I had it as a t-shirt for quite a while. However, these bottom two sections are totally useful. Now you may notice that I'm wearing another Wendy. This one only has 2 fabrics. After last week's very successful sew, I felt like it's like I only have 5 videos, but I felt like I had the energy to go back and revisit some of the things that didn't quite go the way I thought. And I realized that when I made the bubble skirt that I love so much, and when I made this White Wendy dress, they were most likely the exception to the rule as opposed to a good rule. Even with this remake, I can see that I want to do a little bit more work on the shoulder. If I make it again, I'm not sure I'll actually make it again. So these are great to go back into stash. What happened with this Wendy, which is also not white, I made it out of a very stable knit with a flock design on top. And I thought to myself, this is so stable, what do I need to stabilize it for? So I didn't, and lived to regret it. Every time I tried it on, it was stretching more and more in the neckline. And so I had to go back in and stabilize the neck. I had the binding on already, I had to take the binding off, stabilize the neck, redo the binding, redo the neckline. But it was well worth the effort. And then I was busy tweaking away at the shoulder seams. Apparently my dog whining and me cutting at the same time are a little hard for me to juggle. And then it was at nighttime and I was tweaking and I thought, back away before this gets ugly. I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. It's more in line with the original. One of the things that happened after I made the other one is I talked to my good friend Mary. I am so blessed to have a friend that I can talk to several times a week actually about sewing. We have a completely different style, but we sew at about the same level. I think she's a little more adventurous than I am. And so we can talk these things over. One of the things she said is that taking it in last time just kind of took away from the style and fun of it. And we also decided it needed to be longer. Originally I had added 6 inches to the length of the other one. And then as I was fitting it and tweaking it, I took 2 of those inches out. So in the end it was lengthened by 4 inches. And I do like that. I tend to like longer things. And I know they verge on frumpy and you have to be careful, but that's the way it is. I like longer things. I've also decided that maybe I want to start experimenting with earrings. I've never been one for wearing earrings, but I did not used to have long hair, or longer hair. My hair is shoulder length. I doubt I will grow it any longer, and even if I wanted to, it doesn't grow much longer than that. I do like wearing it up, and I think it would be fun to start playing with how I wear it up and with earrings. After I made the dress, this one, I love this fabric so much that I went back to the store that's 45 minutes away in a different community, and I bought more yardage and came home and sewed a pair of pants. And I'll show you those now. I took Callie out and I gave her a peanut butter Kong, and if we're lucky, we will get some quiet time. I hope. As well as the dress, I made these Burda 7400 pants. In a previous video, I talked about this pattern and how it's a favorite, and I love the fabric so much that I decided I didn't want to risk it not working out. Besides, it was also expensive. It is a medium weight textured linen, and the store, which is a Fabricland, our chain, but this is a franchise one, and they carry really lovely fabrics, and they're about 45 minutes from me, so not too bad. So I went back, as I said, and I got the fabric and I made these pants. I've made these pants in 2 sizes. That's what I had already traced out and altered. The one pair I knew right away was going to be way too big because I sewed some denim ones out of it earlier in the year and had to take some darts down from the waist at center front in order to get rid of the fullness there. The other ones, according to my notes, may or may not have worked. So I measured myself, and apparently, although I've not lost any weight, I have lost over an inch on my hips, which would just be over the 8 months I've had my puppy, and we've been going more walking. So, you know, numbers just don't mean much, do they? You have to kind of figure it out as you go along. I made them in the smaller size, which was indecently tight when first put on, but being that it's linen, it is warming up as I wear it and getting more and more comfortable, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. I have a couple tops in my wardrobe, like this one, that will go with, and I also have a medium weight bluish lime green pair of pants that I haven't ever worn out of the studio and do not have a top to go with. So that's something I want to work on next, is perhaps making some tops that would go with both of them. I am ripping up this pair of jeans because my wardrobe is very old, and probably a year or so ago I had this brainy idea that if I gave it a really good purge and there was virtually nothing left, I would be forced to get back to sewing clothes. It didn't work. And so I have been wearing the same clothes basically over and over, and they are worn out. These ones, I repaired the back crotch right here, and it is becoming even more visible as it ages further. And so I've decided that as I finish something, something has to go. The denim is not for these pants. It's because it's getting indecent for me to wear them. I need to cut them up, and I just love old denim. I love the way the waistband looks like that. That is just so interesting to put into, you know, a coat as a button band or something like that. These pants, as I've said, are my favorite, which means that I currently have 3 pairs in my closet. 2 of them are very faded, and my son and my youngest son, I have 2, my son and his wife have bought a new home that they get possession of in March, and I am going to be painting it for them. So I have put 2 pairs of these Burda 7400s that are faded and worn out and past their prime into my paint box, because the last time I painted something, I threw out all my paint clothes because I have a tendency to wipe the paint off on me. Threw those out, needed new ones, and so those pants will be going there. The other pair I'm actually wearing today when I didn't put this on, and they are fine. They're a heavier cotton. They could be called summer. I've never had 2 distinct, or you know, 4, I don't even have 2, distinct wardrobes for spring and summer and fall and winter. That's an interesting idea. I don't know if that will happen, but I decided that if I make one more pair of pants, that I will move those ones over to the summer wardrobe and see what happens. See if I can go in that direction. Oh, that ripped. What's it? Oh, that's a seam. Okay. Anyway, I am going to carry on ripping this apart. I am going to make something to go with both the black and the green pants next week, and I have no idea what that is, On the weekend, I'm going back to the same community to attend an artisan show, and I will stop at the fabric store and see what I can find, and I'll show it to you next week. I popped out to do a few errands and realized I forgot the aha. So I'll tell you about that in just a minute. While I was out, I got this long, cover your butt, down to -25, cozy warm coat with snaps on the side here to give you moving room, and a storm flap, and a two-way zipper. And I thought, wow, that is perfect for taking Callie out for walks. And I got some earrings. How fun is that? So the aha. You want to come up, sweet? The aha was when I was working on another version of the bubble skirt. The very first one I made was amazing, and all I did was fix that A-line skirt. So I thought that was it, that it would always work. Well, I've tried it twice since then, 3 times if you count trying it with the other pattern, and none of them have worked. And I was getting frustrated and trying to figure out what to do. And then I thought, yeah, I do not have to save everything. I don't have to turn it into something else. I don't have to keep all the fabric and reuse it if I don't want to, if it doesn't meet my criteria. I just don't have to save everything. That was the journey. I learned that I can give that pattern away, that a bubble skirt is probably not in my future unless I happen to find a very near to similar fabric to that last one. And there are other patterns and other fabrics for me to explore. So I'll save what I want. I don't have to save everything, and I can just carry on having fun. Thanks for joining me today, and I will show you what I have next week. See you soon.